everyone! Welcome to another unit overview for the King and the Warlord. This one is going to be covering the new units, Renown, and just new units in general for the Greenskins, including the Bloody Hands, the Crooked Moon, and then at the very end I'll briefly cover their campaign positions, and then I'm also going to be covering a very little bit on the Warriors of Chaos in this one because they received an update where they got 3 new units, so I'll be doing that at the very end of the video. For the new legendary lords, we'll cover them first. We have Skarsnik, who will lead your Crooked Moon, and then the Wurzag, which will lead the Bloody Hands. For Skarsnik, pretty cool Night Goblin. He rolls around with a, I don't know if it's mentioned here, but he rolls around with a giant squig that also attacks with him, and he doesn't ride it, he just kind of walks around with it. But his basic abilities here, we have Wah, we have Stand Your Ground, and then his unique one is going to be Spite of Bad Moon, which for 17 seconds will give everybody an increased missile parry chance and then expert charge defense. He shares that ability with one of the new generic lords, which is going to be this Night Goblin Warboss. Then his other unique thing here, you have Tricksy Traps. Units around him will have increased speed, leadership, and charge bonus for almost 30 seconds, so that is pretty cool. His unique item is the Skarsnik Prodder, which it's kind of like a mortar. Well, not exactly a mortar, but he kind of lobs this projectile, which I'll try and show here in a video. And when it lands, it explodes and then goes into other like shrapnel projectiles. It's kind of cool looking, and I'll show that off here in just a moment. So Skarsnik Prodder is this new thing. He's not a spellcaster, but he is, as goblins go, a pretty strong melee combatant. He has armor piercing and anti-large as a hero, so it's pretty unique. And his abilities also are nice supportive abilities. Charge defense against all is amazing, because one of the greatest weaknesses for an all-gobbo army is going to be getting charged by Shock Cav. So things like Spite of the Bad Moon can, well, stop that from happening. Then the other legendary lord here, Wurzag. Wurzag is a very strong orc shaman. He has a unique mount here, Spleen Ripper, which is going to be a warboard. This gives him access to a armor piercing attack, increases his charge bonus, his speed, and his armor up to 55%. I'm sorry, 55, as well as also giving him additional hit points. Not too much, but still it's something. His abilities here, we have quite a few. Power of the Wall, which improves power recharge rate. Unique ability here, Warpaint of Wurzag, which gives 12% damage resistance, kind of like what King Lewin Leon Kerr does, but for now orcs. It is disabled if you engage him in melee, so keep that in mind. This will not be active if you do run him into the battle. He has Frenzy like other Savage Orcs because he is the leader of the Savage Orc clan. That's kind of his whole thing in the campaign, is he leads the Savage Orcs, which is also pretty cool. So he has Frenzy. He also has Wurzag's Revenge, which is potentially huge, especially in some matchups like Empire, potentially vampire accounts, Bretonia if they bring damsels, but it gives a map-wide 40% miscast chance at all times. That is huge. I think it costs 145. Yeah, 145. Definitely have this on almost at all times, unless you're facing off against dwarves because they don't cast spells. But man, that's an insane ability. Also has Arcane Conduit, which teams up really well with the power of the Wah. And then on top of all of that, he can have Foe Seeker, he can have Stand Your Ground, Wah, and then another unique ability, Effigy of the Git, which is a single target direct damage spell, kind of like Accusation of a Witch Hunter, Spirit Leech. And it does about the same amount of damage as those do as well. It's not super impressive, but over the course of a long battle, it can add up, so it's pretty cool. For spells, he has the same spells as the Orc Shaman, which is the Big Wah, I believe it's called. Nothing really new there. And then for his special items, he has 2 of them. Squiggly Beast, which gives even more power recharge rate and increased power reserves, but is only active if he's casting a spell. But he's a very powerful spellcaster. With all of these, like with the Squiggly Beast and then the Power of the Wall and Arcane Conduit all together, he can cast a lot of spells, like boom, 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 boom. So you're going to be able to recharge, or have this activated as you're casting spells, which is pretty cool. And then Bonewood Staff is going to be recharged as long as you're casting. It's going to give a map-wide buff of melee attack and charge bonus to everything, all allies. He is really strong. Really strong. Caster and support unit. In melee, you gotta be careful though. He is not the strongest of lords in melee. Even on Spleen Ripper, he may have an armor piercing damage buff, but look at his melee defense, look at his melee attack, and his armor. If anybody like, God, I don't know, Karl Franz, King Lewin, Grimgor, Ungrim Iron Fist, a general of the Empire on a Griffin. Like, any duelist hero, which a lot of them are going to be able to win in a fight against Warzak. That's why I suggest you always put him on Spleen Ripper, just for the mobility, if anything else. And if you really wanted to throw him in melee, throw him against like a unit or a spellcaster or something. You know, something weaker than he is. Don't allow him to get caught by Karl Franz on a Griffin, because he will die pretty quickly. So just be aware of that. Besides that, though, he's a very special, powerful spellcaster. You can throw him into the battle line here and there to get a charge off, do some decent damage, and get out of there. But again, he's not a duelist. I would not suggest dueling with him. So those are the two new legendary lords. The other new generic lord, which is really cool, is the Night Goblin warboss. You know, actually, before we get into that, I forgot to show you the video. Let me actually show you a video with Skarsnik. He's going to be rolling around with one of the... I believe I put him with the renown units. I think it's the 8-peak loonies. So I'm going to be showing off Skarsnik and also the 8-peak loonies, I think. And something new with the Fnatic version of the Night Goblins is the fact that you can now cast and choose the direction of their little loon attacks. And you have 3 charges of them now. So Fnatic's got a huge buff in this patch. So let me actually show you that video showing these two off.
I'll do it! Doing it! Gonna kill him! Licking it! They're dead! They will pay! Get to the enemy! March with us! Rocket move! Will they not stop? Let's have ya! Where's your king, Goblin? Goblin, get rid of like it!
Isn't that a really cool looking ability for the Skarsnik Prodder? I really like that. And the fact that you can actively cast those loon attacks and choose the direction and have 3 charges of it? Before, I would say never get a Night Goblin Fnatic. It's the same thing as a Night Goblin, only they throw out those loons randomly. But now that you get to choose it, because it's the same thing for the basic Night Goblin Fanatics, they also have the spinning loon attack. So you choose where you wanted to go. For a 50 cost increase, yeah, unless you do not want to micromanage anything, because you do have to activate this, I would always say get Fanatics over the Night Goblins, because that is definitely worth it. Definitely worth it to get the Fanatics now that they added that change. It's a huge buff for Night Goblin Fanatics all around. But anyway, let's get back to the Night Goblin Warboss. A generic lord here, he has a Squig that he can mount, which is going to increase his armor by 30. It does take away his shield, so you won't have any kind of shield block chance. It does also give him bonus damage to small units and armor piercing, so in most cases I would say mount him on the Great Cave Squig. It also looks really awesome. I'm going to be showing it off in a battle here in just a little bit. But yeah, really cool mounts. Gives him a lot of attack power. His melee stats are not the best, but they're also not the worst, especially since how cheap he costs. I think he's a really cool leader. He also has poison attacks, so like, he's pretty cool. His abilities are pretty standard, other than the Spite of the Big Bad Moon, which also comes with Skarsnik. It's the one that gives charge defense and missile parry chance, but besides that, he also has Wall and Stand Your Ground. And if you don't want to mount him, if you don't want him mounted on the Squig, He is under 1,000 cost for a Lord that also still comes with wall and stand your ground. Like, so even unmounted, he is still perfectly fine. The items that he has are just access to the potions, so nothing unique there. But again, he's a very cheap Lord. He's still pretty cool and can be super effective on the Great Cave Squig with, look, I mean, just look at this weapon strength. Look at that bonus for his infantry. He's really cheap, and he has poison attacks. Like, I'm pretty happy with the Night Goblin Warboss. I think. I haven't tested him in multiplayer yet, but I think I'm going to be pretty happy with him. So that is their new Lord. Unlike the Dwarves, they don't get any crazy upgraded ethereal units for their hero selection, no matter who you choose. They all have the same access to heroes, so nothing changed there. So let's move on to the new units for the Greenskins. We start with the Nasty Skulkers. For 500, these are pretty cool. They are a night... I don't know if are they night goblins? Or just goblins? I don't know, they're goblins. They have Stalk and Vanguard Deployment. I guess they're Night Goblins, because Night Goblins have Stalk. So, which is pretty cool in Standard. They cost 500. Their melee stats are not that impressive. Their melee attack is okay. Their melee defense is pretty weak. But they are Armor Piercers with a 18 Armor Piercing attack, which is huge for a Goblin, because there are no real Armor Piercers for the Goblins, at least before this update. So that's pretty cool. What's also pretty cool is that they come with this opportunistic murder. It's going to be active if they are in melee, and it will recharge as long as they're winning melee. So you can see right there, without this buff on, they have just armor piercing. But with this buff on, their attacks are going to do additional armor piercing. Their melee attack jumps up by 16 for 15 seconds, and they're also applying poison. All pretty cool. As long as they're winning in melee combat, they can keep this thing active for a long time. So you're really going to want to make sure that these guys are teaming up with other units. Make sure that they are in a combat that, well, that they're going to be able to win, so you can keep this opportunistic murderer up as long as possible. Another really cool thing, Smoke Bomb with a 90-second cooldown. For 21 seconds in a 30-meter area around them, any unit affected by this is going to have 76% lower speed and charge speed. I'm going to show you a video where I'm going to use this against some Grail Knights to lower their charge speed, and I'm pretty sure it makes them weaker on the charge, judging from what the video will show you. So now an all-goblin army has a couple options for interrupting cav. You got to be really quick on the timing, though. If you're being charged, you got to have this unit selected. You have to activate this ability manually, and it's only a 30-meter range, so you got to be pretty quick on it. But it's going to slow everyone's charge speed. It's also a very nice skill to have if you want to just get them disengaged from combat. You plot this down, you run them out. Units that are going to be chasing them aren't going to be fast enough to catch them, so you can run them out, restalk them up, and attack from a different angle if you want to. Let me show you the video where I test this out against the Grail Knights. So here we have the Night Goblin Warboss, who has an ability that has Spite of the Bad Moon, which can give people expert charge defense and missile parry. But what we're going to try here is the Smoke Bomb, to see if that's going to weaken the charge of these Grail Knights enough to the point where we can actually murder them. I think that maybe works. The Nasty Skulkers are not heavily armored, and they did not really receive that much damage, so even though visually it didn't look like it maybe impacted them that much, I think if you hit that just right, you can really weaken the charge of a Bretonian. Or, well, any cav, really. Anybody, really. But, and then we have the Night Goblin back here, the Rusty Arrows, which is lowering the Grail Knight's armor. Then we have some basic Fanatics in here. I'm just trying to see if the Night Goblin synergy can bring down cav, because this is like their greatest weakness, is shock cavalry. But with these Nasty Skulkers, man, that Smoke Bomb. Now, a human player would probably just run away. But if they don't, if they're busy micromanaging other parts of the battle, you can see here that with the poison and with the Nasty Skulkers, like, we didn't even need the Night Goblin Warboss, I don't think. But with this combination of just the Smoke Bomb, I'm pretty sure that's going to be a nice deterrent against being charged as Night Goblins. Or being charged by anything. Or as anything. Especially when they have the support of these, some kind of unit that can lower their armor. Pretty cool. Like, they still took some damage, but if you apply it at the right time, I think you're going to be denying a lot of the damage potential of the shock cavalry like the Grail Knights. So, pretty cool. Besides them, the other units that were added... trying to think here. Squigs, of course. Let's get to the Squigs. I don't think there's any new missile units other than the Renown, and no other new infantry units, again, other than the Renown ones. So yeah, Let's move on to the Cav. We have Night Goblin Squig Hoppers. These are going to be Night Goblin Cavalry, which are anti-infantry because Squigs, for the most part, are all anti-infantry. They have poison attacks because they're Night Goblins. Their melee stats are okay. They're relatively cheap Cav. They're not going to be able to hold their own against any kind of shock Cav, so make sure they're not getting charged by Blood Knights, you know, Empire Knights, any kind of Knights at all. Don't let them get charged by them. But if you can have them charge into any kind of infantry position, they're going to be applying poison, which is, again, a huge debuff. Just look at everything that affects. It just affects everything. They're also going to be doing bonus damage versus infantry. You can see the +9 there. Pretty cool units. A very mobile poison attack anti-infantry unit with a decent charge bonus is really awesome. And on top of that, they are also immune to psychology effects. So that's also a nice little buff. They can Vanguard deploy as well, like most goblins can. I think they're a pretty decent addition to the Goblin ranks. The other addition here is just the Squig Herd. So these are going to be unmounted Squigs. You can see they are cheaper, but they actually do more damage than the mounted versions. But the trade-off is they don't do poison attacks. They do have slightly less melee defense. But what's really cool, I think they also have more armor. Yeah, they have 25 more armor than the Squig Rider version. But they also come with Squigs Go Wild. This is a 15-second self buff that's active in melee. Only recharges if their leadership is wavering, though. But what this does, it gives them more armor piercing, more melee attack. They cause fear, and they're unbreakable. Huge. It's huge, because I've tested this out, and when they start to waver, you see the buff kick back in, and then their leadership comes back because they become unbreakable. And it's just this cycle of they stay in combat, they deal damage, they start to waver, then Squigs Go Wild procs, and then they stay in combat longer, then it just keeps going. And they're really cheap. They look really cool. I'm going to have a video of them. Actually, you know what? Let's just show that video right now. I'm going to show you a couple of Squig Herds and a couple of Night Goblin Squig Hoppers being led by the Night Goblin Warboss on his Squig Hopper, fighting against, I believe I put him up against Dwarves.
sweet coppers! Charge!
So there you go. There's some nice Squig action. Their animation when they kill somebody is amazing. The fact that they just eat that person alive. Where does the body go? I don't know. It doesn't make sense, but it looks awesome. So those are the other new additions to the Goblin army. I believe that's it. The nasty Skulkers and then just these Squig units. Yeah. So everything else is going to be the renown. So let's start back up here with the infantry with the Warlord's boys. These are Night Goblins, not Fanatics. Just normal Night Goblins for 550. So 150 increased cost from the normal Fanatics. They are slightly stronger in melee and leadership as per usual for units of renown. But their unique thing is going to be that they are immune to psychology. I think that's... I'm sorry. And also, God, how I forget. The biggest thing is their melee attack, instead of doing poison, is going to sunder enemy units' armor. Which, my God, is so huge. Sundering, like... The synergy of the Goblin units now are pretty cool, because we have the Warlord's boys, which are going to be able to sunder armor. We have the Skulkers, which can do armor piercing and also poison. We also are going to have this other renowned unit, the 8 Peak Loonies, which are going to be the poison attacks. But their unique thing is that, I believe their... Where is it? Yeah, here we go. So their loons that they throw out dwarves, shaved dwarves instead of giant like balls and chains. So that's pretty cool. On top of that, they are better than the normal Fanatic unit. For 150 increased cost, you get better melee stats, better leadership, because they're unbreakable. On top of being able to throw out dwarves that are shaved, and they look pretty cool. I don't know if I actually have a video. Maybe at the end of this, I'll just show the loons throwing out the shaved dwarves, because it's pretty funny. So that's going to be the Fanatic renowned version of the Night Goblin. So this one has the Sunder Armor, this one has the Shaved Dwarves, and are unbreakable, and have really decent melee stats all around. Again, low armor, but all Night Goblins kind of share that in common. On top of that renowned unit, we also have, for the last infantry renowned one, we have the Black Orcs, the Crimson Killers. These are going to have a lower model count than the traditional Black Orcs. They do cost 200 more, but they have 2 great weapons. And I believe that the way this works, they don't necessarily say it here. It does say they can cleave through several foes with each swing. I'm not sure if it's actually AoE or not, or if they just have 2 attacks per attack instead of just the 1. I'm not entirely sure. This will lead me to believe that they actually do AoE damage, kind of like what Slayers can do. But again, I'm not entirely sure. I'm assuming, I don't know. It's one of those two. They either do 2 attacks, or they do actually have an AoE attack that hits multiple units around. And in any case, these guys are pretty strong. They are, again, buffer than the normal Black Orcs with the stat line with the leadership and melee attack. But again, their big thing is going to be they have dual-wielding axes, so they just look badass. And let me actually show you a video of these guys in action against a couple great swords, backed up by, I believe I have them backed up by Warzag in this one.
The Black Orcs will win! I'm the slaughtering!
Don't stop until they're all dead!
Now in that battle, you can see how devastating they can be. Even with their lower unit count, they can do so much damage. Now, I did give them buffs from Warzag, but that's pretty accurate in an actual battle. You're going to want to give them like a unit or like a buff like Fist of Gork, because it's going to buff up their weapon strength, their melee stats. These guys are nuts, and I can't wait to take them into a multiplayer environment. I think these are going to be a really good addition. Not know if they're really needed for the Greenskin faction, but I definitely welcome the Black Orc Renown unit of the Crimson Killers. They just look sweet. They do so much damage. It's really cool. For the Missile Infantry, the Renown unit that we have are going to be the Rusty Errors, which are going to have that Sundering trait, but on their missile attack. And melee, they are still poisoned. Besides that, their melee stats, I think, are slightly... Yeah, they're slightly better. Hold on. Are these Fanatics? No, these are Night Goblins. Okay, so they are still slightly better than normal Night Goblins, but who cares about that? What you want from these people are their Sundering missile damage. You just fire these guys into a clump of infantry, boom, every single unit their arrows are hitting, minus 32 armor for 10 seconds. So if you really want to get micromanagey about it, it's probably not going to happen in every battle, but maybe you can do it in some. You can just give them an attack order on like the left flank of your line. Have them do one salvo, middle, right, and just keep alternating that way, so you can try and keep the entire enemy main line debuffed with that armor penalty. So them, and then the AP Gloonies, I'm sorry, no, the Warlord's Boys with the Sundering attack, so amazing. It's such an amazing ability, and teamed up with the other Night Goblins, which have poison, which lowers melee stats anyway. Like, I think if you want to do a Night Goblin build, or a Goblin build in general, you're always going to want to bring, I think, every single Renown unit that the Night Goblins have, because they work so well with each other, with the Sundering armor, the poison attacks, and they really strengthen each other a lot. So the Rusty Errors, I think, are an amazing unit. Ranged Sundering, and they don't even know they're there. Your opponent won't even see them until you start firing with them. They have no idea to account for them being there, which, oh my god, I love those guys. I love them. The Rusty Arrows, I think, are going to be so amazing. Anyway, besides them, we have my next almost favorite unit, will be the Moon Howlers, which are the renowned Goblin Wolf Riders. You know, if you've seen my videos, how much I love Goblin Wolf Riders. I think they're one of the best units in the game. They are super amazing, super fast. They can disrupt any archer, gunner, cannon emplacement. It's hard to chase them. They're annoying as hell, but they can still do some decent damage. These are going to be the upgraded versions of them. They're going to have better melee and defensive stats, better leadership, but their thing is that they cause fear. Now, being charged by a cav unit, I think, has a minus 10 to your leadership. Then the fear has an additional minus 10. And then if you're attacking them from the back, there's going to be an attack in the rear penalty of a minus 8. That's still kind of fuzzy. The leadership, like, penalties are still kind of not 100% in my head. But in any case, the Moon Howlers are going to be able to really impact the leadership of any unit that they charge. And on top of that, they can do some decent damage to their ideal targets, which are going to be the Quarrelers, the crossbows, you know, the ranged units, the artillery units. But even in the melee line, if you bring these Moon Howlers behind, you know, Great Swords, Graveguard, well, not Graveguard, but, you know, any unit that's susceptible to leadership, I guess Graveguard are, but they don't rout, they just crumble. Then this impact of being charged in the rear and also having fear is really cool, because they are a super fast, mobile fear unit. So wherever you need that fear to break that pocket of infantry or cav, you rush them over there, you throw them in there, apply their fear effect, apply their, you know, charge the rear effect, and then you can break a part of the infantry's line, which then will create like a chain route down the line as other friends are running away. So the potential for these very fast moving fear units are pretty cool. So I think the Moon Howlers are going to be another great addition to the Greenskin line. Next we have, where am I? The Dirtkix Squigs are going to be the renowned unit of the Night Goblin Squig Hoppers. They cost 100 more, again, better melee stats. But on top of that, they also have the missile resistance 25%. That's going to be their big change, is, I guess, the Scaly Skin. Yeah. It's not an exciting renowned unit, but for only 100 cost increase, sure, maybe. Like, if you have 100 to spare, and you're going to bring a Night Goblin Squig Hopper anyway, sure, bring this renown unit. They give you some extra missile defense, and the bonus to the melee stats and leadership is cool. And it's only 100 more. Like, if this was 200 more, I would say, no, never bring this. 150 would definitely be on the edge, but only 100 cost increase. Sure. It's not that exciting, but sure. Why not? Now, the Broken Tusk mob, though, is actually kind of exciting. They are going to be the renowned version of the Orc Boy Biggins. They cost 200 more. I think they have the same model counts. Yes. Melee stats, leadership are going to be better, of course. They're also, one of their big difference is that these Orc Boy Biggins are going to have additional 35 armor? Yeah, 35 armor, so that brings them up to 90. Their melee attack is going to be, of course, increased. Their weapon strength is the same. But on top of all of that, they now also provide an encouraging aura. Any unit that provides an encouraging aura is always going to be great. That means any unit's going to last just a little bit longer in combat. So I think the Broken Tusk mob is a great addition. The Orc Boy Biggins are already an excellent unit that you're probably going to see all the time in multiplayer anyway. But now you're probably going to see the the Broken Tusk mob even more now, because they are better Orc Boy Biggins with higher armor and an encouraging aura. It's great. There's nothing to hate about these. For 200 cost increase, boom, thumbs up. Yes, hands down. Get them. They're great. Let's see. Missile Cav. We have the Mugrub's Mangy Marauders. Again, another excellent addition to the Greenskins. I love this patch, or this DLC. This Wolf Archer. I mean, I guess it does cost 250 more, but I think it's worth it. Because they come with missile piercing, or armor piercing missile damage. They are a very mobile archer unit with armor piercing. Guaranteed 10 missile damage each shot. That's huge. Again, for like the Goblin themed armies, that's huge. Any kind of armor piercing you could bring as a Night Goblin army or Gobbo army in general is going to be amazing. The fact that this unit comes with that is also cool. And I think they also are immune to psychology. That's another addition that they have. Besides that, their stats are changed slightly again. But again, the big thing here is the missile armor piercing damage, which is, I think, huge and definitely worth the cost increase. On top of that, another really cool addition. Death Creepers are the upgraded renown unit of the Forest Goblin Spider Rider Archers. For 200 cost increase, you're going to be getting, again, better stats. So they are better in melee. If you really want to throw them against a very weak unit like Quarrelers, they're going to do even better. But on top of that, they have Stalk, which I've already gushed about how awesome Stalk is. They are a very fast unit with Stalk, so they can come in from the left, do a couple salvos, enemies like, oh crap, there's a unit over there, start sending somebody over there, they whip around to the right side and they have stalks so the enemy won't even see them, and on top of that, they have regeneration. So you get them in there, you do some pot shots against, I don't know, infantry or archers or something, then the archers respawn, they send like a salvo of quarter fire your way, you get shot, you're like, oh crap, you quickly, with a speed of 78, move away, you regenerate, and attack from a different angle. It's going to be pretty micromanaged intensive, or it could be as intensive as you want it to be. But yes, a very mobile force with a stalk and regeneration and poison attacks. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Yes, thumbs up. Boom. Done. Death Creepers. Excellent. The Teeth Robbers. For 150 cost increase, you can get a better melee and defensive focused Goblin Wolf Chariot that now has Vanguard deployment and hide in the forest. That's going to be its big change, really. It's going to be Vanguard and hide in forest. Listen, the Goblin Wolf Chariot takes way too much work to get anything done. It's a very low mass chariot unit, so when you throw them into the backs of an infantry line, it's hard to get them back out. They don't disrupt as much as like an Orc Boar Chariot does. So they take a lot of micromanagement, a lot of babysitting to get any work done, and their missile damage, even though it looks high, there's only like 6 archers in the unit that are actually firing at one time, so it's not that much, really. It takes way too much work to get the Goblin Wolf Chariot to do anything. It can be done. Listen, you can get work done with the Goblin Wolf Chariot. It's just not worth the time you're going to put into it, in my opinion. So if you really want a chariot, just grab the Orc Boar one. This renowned one is kind of cool. I guess if you want to set up like an ambush out in the trees somewhere Vanguard deployed, okay. But like, they could be really good at killing Quarrelers, but if you want to kill Quarrelers or ranged or artillery units, just bring a wolf, Goblin Wolf Rider who does the same thing. They already hide in the forest and Vanguard deploy and do that job just as well, if not better, than the Goblin Wolf Chariot can do. So, Test it out yourself, see if you like it, but I think they're too much for what they're worth. So that's going to be all of the missile chariots. Besides that, we have 2 more renowned units. One of my favorites, I think, are going to be the Arachnarok Queen, who is a buffed up version of the Arachnarok for 400 more. Why does she cost 400 more? Well, besides getting a buff in leadership, melee, and melee defense, she also spawns a group of spiders, which are also going to be poison attackers. So for 400 more, you're getting a beefier Arachnarok that also can summon up another unit in a very long range, I might add. You can cast these spiders behind an enemy infantry line, and they can go after anything. I'm going to actually show you a video showing off the Arachnarok Queen, her little spiderlings, and I don't remember, I think I have her with the Night Goblin warboss and maybe like Squig or something, but the range on her Maternal Instinct ability is, like, look at that, 150. Most summoning spells are pretty short range. You're probably going to see her a lot online.
Like it! Licking it! Brothers ready!
Yeah, pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. Her summoning is pretty sweet. The range that you can cast it is pretty awesome. And, you know, it's an Arachnarok. Like, they're already awesome units. Pretty cool. For the most part, besides these Goblin Thief Robbers or whatever, the renowned units are all awesome. And there's one more. The Hammer of Gork, which I think you're going to see, again, like a lot of these renowned units, I think you're going to see a lot because they all have a role. They are all pretty awesome, including the Hammer of Gork. 200 cost increase over the Goblin Rock Lobber. More leadership, melee, blah. Its big thing is that it has this blinded effect. Minus 34 melee defense, minus 36 melee attack, and 40% accuracy on any unit it hits for 10 seconds. On top of the normal damage that it does, it has the same range, I believe. Yeah. So it's basically the same thing, other than the fact that it has this blinded stat. That is huge. In any situation, in any army build, this is huge. But especially for a Night Goblin build, because they are very low armor units all around, like all goblins are. So lowering an enemy's melee defense and attack just synergizes so well with the Goblin army. I love these renowned units. I love the additions that they made because it really makes Goblin only builds truly viable. Like, you could do it before, it's hard, but now they're making it more viable. And the Hammer of Gork, if you're going to do a Night Goblin build, Goblin build, hell, any kind of build at all, I think you're going to be seeing this all the time. All the time. It's going to be good in almost any matchup just because this debuff is going to be so damn useful. It's insane that they have this blinded effect. For only 200 cost increase, oh my god. Can I not stress enough how big that's going to be? So huge. Because enemy infantry lines get clumped up. So it's not like you're going to be hitting one unit. There's a good chance you can hit 2, 3, hell, how clumped up they are. You can hit 4 units at once that are all going to be blinded for 10 seconds. It's huge. What's the reload time on this thing? 16 seconds. Okay, so you can't keep like a constant debuff, but damn near close. So that is going to wrap up the last unit of renown for the Greenskins. I love almost everything added to the Greenskins, again, except for the Thief Robbers, just because I think Goblin Chariots are not that impressive. But everything else, for the most part, I think are awesome, are going to be very useful, and I think you're going to see them a lot in multiplayer. including these lords. I think all of the new lords, Wurzag has their place. I think they're pretty cool. Skarsnik, I think, is pretty cool. Goblin Knight Warboss is so cheap and also still pretty awesome. So overall, my initial impressions of the King and the Warlord, all of the new units, I love them all. All of the renown units, only a couple are just kind of meh. Only one is like eh. But besides that, everything else is so amazing. I love everything added into this DLC. For the grand campaign, the Greenskins have 2 additional choices now. You have, well, the Greenskin, but now you also have the Crooked Moon and the Bloody Hands. Both of these 2 are going to be starting in different positions. We'll start with the Crooked Moon first. They have a feature that revolves around Carrick 8 Peaks, which is in the southeast part of the Wastelands. Badlands? Wastelands? In the southeast part of the map. Let's just open them up here. So you can see they start near Reikland, and their objective is way down here, I believe. That's where Carrick 8 Peaks is, somewhere in these mountains over there. The faction leader here is Skarsnik, powerful melee fighter, starts with the Goblin Big Boss hero, has unique skills that improve Goblin units in his upgrade tree, and has a very vicious pet, Squig Goblin, which is this pet right there. The Lord effects here, though, we have a unique building chain available at Carrick 8 Peaks. I believe that unlocks some orc units that you can make, unless you have, or if you do not have that, Carrick 8 Peaks that is, I believe you are limited to just Goblin units for this faction until you get that city. The upkeep and recruitment cost is minus 40% for Goblin units faction-wide, which is, well, pretty good. And then the hero action costs minus 50% and receive additional experience, which I think really fits well with the Night Goblin theme. They're, you know, strike from the back, they're hit and runs, they do little tricksy tactics, so this encourages you to use your heroes more, and they will gain more experience quicker. The other... I'm sorry, can only recruit orc units from Carrick 8 Peaks. There you go, there's one of the negatives. Then the other one is going to be the Bloody Hands, which is led by the free LC Wurzag, the Great Green Prophet. I love his dance. Wurzag's dance is pretty cool. But he is like the leader of the Savage Orcs. This is his location here in the western, by the Western Badlands. Powerful Shaman, which indeed he really is. A unique settlement building chain is available for him. Can unlock Spleen Ripper, which is his unique Ward Boar mount. Charge bonus for all Savage Orc units are increased. The upkeep for Savage Orc units in his army are going to be lowered. And then the enemy hero success chance is minus 50%. I'm guessing faction-wide, and there are his starting units right there. Wurzag, the Great Green Prophet. Oh, man. That dance is just so cool. And then, since we were at the end of this video, why not cover the Warriors of Chaos? The 3 new units that they have. Aspiring Champions. They are a very low unit count, but very high stat. Kind of in between, like, Monstrous Infantry and then Elite Infantry. It's weird, because there's so few of them. But they are very, very elite. They all have magic attacks, Vanguard deployment. They have Encourage, very high armor, very high missile block chance. It's like a first of a kind, really. This very powerful unit that is in such a small unit count. So, because they have Encourage, I would like to try them out in supporting a Marauder frontline, because maybe that Encourage aura will keep the Marauders fighting for a little bit longer. And besides that, I think you really want to mix them in with other infantry so they are not just getting overwhelmed by, you know, like a unit of 60 greatswords bearing down on them when there's only 12 of them. So I think mixing them in with other units is what you want to do. I think. I haven't tested them out in multiplayer yet, but that's the Aspiring Champions. I think they're really cool. The other new unit is the Marauder Horse Masters, which are just an upgraded version of the Marauder Horsemen. Their missile attack is just normal damage, nothing really special about it. In fact, I think it's the same amount of damage as the normal ones. No, I'm sorry. No, it is not. It is increased missile damage over the Horsemen. They're just better all around, I guess, except for speed and ammunition. But besides that, every other stat is increased. The big major stat is going to be the weapon damage, their melee attack defense, and then, of course, the armor. Did I see the armor? Anyway, you can see the changes right there. Besides that, there's no special abilities that they have other than what they share with the Horse Masters. I don't know. The Marauder Horsemen. I've never been too impressed with the Marauder Horsemen, but I'll give them a shot, see how they fare. With the additional armor that they have, it's possible they can out-skirmish some people. Maybe. Like, their missile damage is really high. It just kind of depends on how accurate they are, which, again, is like a stat we don't really see, but it is in the game. Accuracy is a thing, because you can increase it or decrease it with different abilities, so I really want to know what their base accuracy is. Oh, well, maybe one day. Do they update that anywhere, maybe? If I hover over these tooltips, does it just list accuracy now? I'm waiting for the day. Just waiting for the day. Then we also have the Chaos Feral Manticore. The Feral Manticore, I believe, is similar, if not identical, to the one that the Amber Wizards and Brave Shamans can summon. I'm not entirely sure, but they're pretty similar. For 1,000 cost, you get a pretty beefy monstrous unit that can cause terror. It has fear, missile resistance, okay armor, okay leadership, speed's really high, melee stats are pretty decent, and of course their weapon strength 430 is really good. And then charge bonus of 55. So those are the 3 new units that Chaos is receiving. Again, I believe this is in the free DLC update that comes with Warzag as well, so you can all play this in multiplayer or in your campaign, I would assume, if you want to play as Chaos in the campaign. But why would you? Listen, you know, I'm not going to judge you. If you want to play Chaos in the campaign, fine. But I think that is a very boring campaign, and the Beastman is a better version of the Chaos campaign. But anyway, those are the 3 free DLC units, and before we end, let me show you a video of what I believe the new meta for the multiplayer Chaos is going to be. I hope you enjoy it. Hope you enjoyed this video. I will leave a link in the description below that will link you to the Dwarf unit overview for the King and the Warlord DLC. So check that out if you haven't done that already. And that's it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. Have a good day. Enjoy the DLC. It's very promising. Take care.